This is about history and changing history. And I will refer to some things that you may or may not have heard of. But as I said before, I live in Rhode Island, and I discovered that the Massasoit Usamiquan, who met the Pilgrims in 1621, okay? He was the first European for the native population to talk to in 1621, and they ended up making an agreement at that point that lasted for 50 years. It was like a treaty that they would defend each other and not harm one another. So that allowed the English people to stay there for half a century without a problem. And of course their numbers grew and grew and grew, and the Europeans began taking over more and more land. Eventually, by a little after those 50 years in 1675, Usamiquan had died. His son, King Philip, took over. King Philip was a name assigned by the Plymouth colonists, and a war broke out because the native population was tired of having the English take over their land over and over again. At the end of that war, the native population was defeated and either enslaved or killed outright, pushed out of the area. And the English then took over. And from then on, all you hear about in New England is English occupation. You don't know anything about the native people who had lived there for 6,000 or 10,000 years. So my job, and if you go to a website called Sowams, S-O-W-A-M-S, heritagearea.org, SowamsHeritageArea.org, you'll find a large website that will explain this whole history and how people in the United States who live right there don't know anything about this. But it's what changed history. If that war had been won by the native population, it's very likely that the English would have been driven back here to England, and New England never would have existed, and we would have ended up maybe French, maybe still Indian there, okay, hard to say. But that was one of the most important transformations in that period of time, 400 years ago, and we just celebrated the 400th anniversary of that first meeting over there. So there's a lot to learn, and hopefully your audience will pay attention to that.
Of course.
And not only will they learn about vaccinations in the
Islamic perspective.
That's right, they'll learn a little bit about history. So that's wonderful.